Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Open Equine Market Commentary for the week of March 11th. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and just coming to you with this week's outlook on the markets. And here we are on the S&P 500 looking at the ES futures contract, starting with some of the higher time frames like the monthly, on a beautiful run here since we got this setup candle right back here in the buy zone, but on a 5-month tear, just broke a new high. Most recently here in the past week, that most recent high back in 2007 was 1539. We got a break of that, and we're up around the highs of right around 1545 and beyond. So markets looking like they're going to push higher. We start to look at the weekly chart. Beautiful setup candle there just within the last 2 weeks. Got a break of the high of that candle. We're back off to the races, setting new highs again. And looking at the daily chart, got a little overextension here from the moving averages on the daily chart. Obviously, we want to be buying this when we get these pullbacks, just like we did here, back into those moving averages. But not too bad. We can still get a rally from here. As we look down at the 480 chart, we can see that the moving averages are actually pushing up into the price. If you go down and look at some of the lower time frames, like the 120 all the way down to like the 30-minute chart, you'll begin to see some divergence setting up with this most recent high here. So I'm just anticipating a little bit of a pullback here. Nothing major, but something maybe back into this. What looks good would be this 1530 level. Help us to wash out some of that divergence on the intermediate time frames, and then potentially give us a base there to launch off into either an equal high or a new high going forward into the week. So things looking pretty bullish here on U.S. equities, U.S. stocks, and we're looking to find our places to get long this market and continue to ride some of these higher time frame trends. And then taking a look at the small cap stocks here by looking at the Russell contract, and talked about this flat level here for quite some time, right around 860. That would still be a great pullback level to begin getting long once we get that pullback, but the market's really not showing any sign of a pullback just yet. But again, just like the ES futures, 5 months, once we got that setup candle here in the buy zone, went on a 5-month tear, setting new highs, breaking that flat level. As we look at the weekly chart, same thing. We've got a nice setup candle right there in and around that 10 and 20 period moving average. Break of the high of that candle. We're back off to new highs. As we move down to the daily chart, again, put in a new high beyond that 933 level. So there really isn't a whole lot stopping this market from moving higher. We don't really have a slight divergence there on the daily chart with the break of that latest high, but we don't really have any divergence setting up below the daily chart. So the 480, the 120, the 240, the indicators all look pretty strong. They're still converging. As you can see, the moving averages here kind of catching up to the price, which looks like it's going to force price higher. So what I'd be looking for is maybe just a smaller pullback into this 933 level. And if you start looking at some of the lower time frames like the 240, the 120, the 60, you'll start to see that that pullback puts you right within that buy zone on the 10 and 20 period moving average. So looking for those trend flow setup candles, and then using that setup candle to define your entry, and then also define your risk in case we're wrong on the trade, and at least we have a stop loss in place to protect ourselves. So market's looking very bullish even on the small cap stocks, and so just following the higher time frames with these trends and looking for those setups on some of the intermediate time frames. And looking at one last market here, foreign currency pairing with the dollar Swiss. Obviously on the higher time frames here you can see a protracted downtrend, but really in a consolidation here for almost the last year, right between that 90 level up to the high of around that 98 level. So really just looking to take this trade maybe back up to the upper range of that level. And as we look at the weekly chart, we can see basically the last 5 months has really been just higher highs, higher lows. We don't have the signs of a strong trend with any of the moving averages in order. But as we go down to some of the intermediate time frames, we do. We've got the 50, the 20, and the 10 lining up on the daily chart. Everything moving up real nice, good controlled pullbacks to that 10 period moving average. Have a little extension away right here. And the same here on the 480. What I'd really be looking for is a pullback on like the 480, the 240, the 120, or the 60. Looking for those pullbacks right back into the buy zone, and then looking for those setup candles just like we saw all in throughout here. So pretty consistent trend here for quite some time. And again, once you get that setup candle, we're looking to take the break of the high of that setup candle with our stop just below the low. Protects us in case we're wrong on the trade. So if we can get that pullback, we'd then be looking to push up, at least back up into this 95.5 level, if not pushing up then into a new high, potentially back up to this most recent high of right around 99.7. So it looks like we can potentially get back up to that level, and we got some good trend flow setups lining up here on some of the intermediate time frames. So that's the outlook for the week for the markets. We'd like to thank you for watching the Open eCrime market commentary for the week of March 11th, and we do look forward to speaking to you next week on the Market Update.